What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building for another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody feeling this evening? The Shop Podcast, episode 270. Once again, you guys are here hanging out with us, enjoying the weekend, hopefully doing a whole lot of gaming. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to unpack. We got another phenomenal guest. Shout out to everybody in chat right now. Turn me up. I'm feeling super good this weekend, man. Once again, we got a phenomenal guest. Let me do some quick shout outs here before we get into the content, before we get into the guests. We got Mr. Joe in the Dark. We got Shon Su, Talos, Ray. Let's see who else we got down here, man. Appreciate you, Sick, Ashtray, everybody hanging out in chat. Thank you guys so much. Once again, if you're new here, subscribe, like, all of that helps. Thank you guys so much, man. But let's go ahead and give it up for our guest, man. We got Mr. Silent Cypher from XBI hanging out with us. Before you say anything, Cypher, shout out to everybody XBI. I know they're going to be in here supporting you. I know Louis is going to pop in, Sour Blow, hopefully, if the time, is right. But I appreciate you hanging out with us, Silent. Let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Hey, good evening, everyone. PTK, thanks again for having me over. It's always fun to come hang out with you guys, chill, talk some gaming. And yeah, I mean, like you were saying, XBI podcast, the group of us will probably be hanging out in the chat, so you're likely to run into one or two of us deviants in there. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to be on here talking some games with you guys this evening. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man. Shout out live chat, man. You guys are awesome, man. Once again, Bob's Adventures with Scooter, Stanley, Francois. What's up, King? What's up, Focus Active? Once again, Mr. Joe in the Dark. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Share the love. Share the link. Share the link. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Let everybody know the Shop podcast is live. Thank you guys so much, man. Let's go ahead and throw this over to my right hand, man, Mr. Pong Harvey, Mr. 3 to 4 shows a week on a light week. Shout out to you, Pong. How you doing, brother? How you feeling? I know it's been a rough week, this week specifically, but you made it through. We appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, just glad to be here this week. Like I said, most people who've listened to me this week have heard, but Pandy came for the household this week, so I had to deal with that. The beginning of the week was really rough. Didn't know if I was gonna be able to podcast this week or not, but thankfully, doubled up on my supplements, doubled up on my vitamins, kept hydrated. Slept a lot, watched a lot of TV, more TV than I've watched in the past probably 4 years because my brain was so dead. I could not even play games. I couldn't concentrate. So I just needed to have something on, but got through it. I'm not 100% yet. My voice definitely started going this morning on Living Split Screen after doing Xbox Ultimate last night. So I rested this afternoon and I'm ready to rock and roll on the show. It's great to have Silent Cypher back, of course. One of the man with the smoothest voice in the business, or at least one of them, but he gives Fuzzy a run. So
yeah, I know, right?
But it's great to have him here. Of course, the XBI crew love what you guys do over there. You know that. You know nothing but respect. So just happy to be here, man. Gaming wise this week, it's been interesting because I didn't do a whole lot in the beginning of the week, obviously, but then got down to some Wolong demo.
The demo,
the demo that was launched. Got a lot of potential. It does have issues, but it's got some potential. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be in Game Pass. Can't wait for it. Got down to some Ni no Kuni remastered, which Shadow dropped from TGS into Game Pass. Amazing. That goes back to the PS3 days. Studio Ghibli actually did the animation in that game. So if you are a JRPG lover and did not have an opportunity to play Ni no Kuni on either PS3 or PS4, but you have an Xbox, now's your chance, and it's worth it. A freaking amazing game. I love that game. And we're getting number 2 next year as well, which is incredible. TGS was big time for Xbox this week. So other than that, back on, of course, the 2K23 now. With Steel giving me that game last weekend. I'm starting my grind again on my team. So you know how that goes. Yeah. So, but no, shout out to everybody. Glad to be here, brothers. We got a lot of topics to get into, so let's get down to business here.
Man, let's get into it, man. Shout out to chat. You guys are awesome and amazing. Once again, appreciate every single one of you. Tell everybody the Shop Podcast is live. We do this every single week. This is where you want to be on Saturday evening, right here with us at the Shop Podcast, getting this good gaming talk, being part of the community. Thank you guys so much once again. every single one of you, man. But last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, who has competition this week specifically for the smoothest voice on YouTube. Shout out to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. How you been this week, brother?
Been doing good. And man, just so many news stories and random things about gaming, and just some shadow drops and some more stuff coming down the pipeline. I mean, TGS, that you have to admit this was probably the biggest get as far as in a long time compared to like last gen, as far as bringing a lot of those games over to Xbox and stuff. So it's awesome to see. Glad we have Silent Cypher on here again. Yeah, I know he's got my my smooth voice outdone, but that's fine. We'll get into the gaming stuff today and have some fun with it. Glad to be here with you guys.
And once again, appreciate every single one of you, man. Let's dive in. We gonna start with this poll of the week. We didn't really do one at all last week. I debated on doing one again this week, but we're going to get into it. Appreciate everybody who does participate in the poll of the week. Once again, that is up on my Twitter account every single Monday morning-ish. I can't guarantee morning all the time, but morning-ish usually, right? So if you want to be part of that, follow me there. Appreciate every single person who does take part in that. So this week I had an easy one. This was actually a runaway. This is kind of why I debated on even talking about it. It was kind of lopsided. I'm gonna be honest with you. I try and make these as difficult as possible, but sometimes I get pressure from Pong. I got a high standard to live up to, Pong, right?
So, you do, sir. You do.
Absolutely. And this one was a runaway, so he should have had no issue with the winner of this particular topic. So poll of the week this week was, with 2023 shaping up to be legendary game, to be a legendary year in gaming, what game is most likely to have the biggest buzz? I had some choices. Some pretty obvious choices of games that I thought would be huge. Starfield, AC Mirage, Breath of the Wild 2, Spider-Man 2. Starfield ran away with the vote. It was about an 81%. We don't even need to talk about the other options. So regardless of everything that's been moved, everything that's been delayed into 2023, seems like the community is dead set, still on Starfield being probably the biggest game with the biggest buzz next year. So we're going to throw this over to you, Silent. We're going to start with our guests. Once again, chat, let us know if you guys agree with that. Shout out to Invader, Talos, Gabe. I see you. Lord Master, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We're going to start with you, Silent. Do you think with everything going on in 2023, there's a shit ton of games, for lack of a better term, coming out?
Yeah.
And you think Starfield is still going to be the marquee game that gets the biggest buzz?
It's tough to say for sure, but I would definitely say with how
careful.
See, look.
I can't see Pong's face, but I can see Pong's face as I'm saying that. No, I think it will still, right? I mean, with everything else that's going on, yes, there's going to be some other big bangers that come out next year, but I mean, this thing has been a long time coming. Even if it's not fully baked by the time it comes out, if we see it like a Fallout scenario or something like that, it's not going to stop the pace at which this thing's going to sell and also be downloaded by folks on Game Pass, on PC, Game Pass if it's there. Like it's going to hit a fever pitch, I feel like. I mean, maybe there are one or two out there that I'm not thinking of they'll compete with it to an extent. But I think this one kind of still has the runaway at this moment. Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other ones that maybe could be contenders might get kicked to the next year. Also, just with everything else that's going on, it wouldn't surprise me if some other things bounced out of the way just so that way they didn't get overshadowed.
Yeah. We can see that definitely happen. Would it be in jam-packed? Well, we know for now, and this is not even including what's coming up. We still got another show. We still got the VGAs coming up as well, where we're probably going to get more announcements. So who knows what other information we get, man. Shout out to General Spartan, Chris Jones, everybody. What's up, Zinc? Jumping in here. We need those hot takes early, Zinc. Got to get them shits out the way early, brother. We got a long show.
He's got 3 months. He's got 3 months of get out of jail.
You got to get out of
jail. Anything.
Yeah, you're banked up. Don't worry about it. You're good. You're bricked up this week. Don't worry about it. We got you. Anyway, so I'm gonna throw this over to my compadres here. We'll throw this over to you, Pong. Obviously, this seemed to be an obvious choice for the community. We're treading on thin ice, talking about this in the first place. So we got to be careful, chat. But Pong, where are we at on this, brother?
It's all right. I'm the Undertaker in that GIF where you're standing over what's his face's
Yeah,
shoulder. Just watching everybody, especially you, PTK. But you put Starfield in here, so you're good this week. Listen, there's an argument to be made for Zelda, and we got to get used to not.
I was gonna
Breath of the
say
Wild
that
too. There is.
that was gonna. Yeah, I said this. I made the poll before we knew the name.
Tears of the Kingdom is what it is officially. So there's an argument for sure to be made there. Again, the power of Zelda is undeniable. Whether I enjoy it or not doesn't matter at the end of the day. That's going to have massive buzz both amongst the critics and fans alike. And so, I can hear that, but obviously I chose Starfield. Nobody understand. We all forget, and I do this all the time. Or I talk about this all the time with Bethesda titles from the A-Team and Todd. Because they're so few and far between, because we wait years and years in between releases, we always forget, or the masses forget, how big Bethesda releases are and what these games actually mean when they finally hit. Even the games have had problems. The games have had bugs. Skyrim was broken on PlayStation when it first dropped and still sold unbelievable. And 10 years later, we're getting anniversary editions. Modders are still out here modding it. Bethesda titles are just on a different level when they come from Todd and A-Team. And Starfield is a brand new IP from that team on top of it. And we're talking about the biggest scope they've ever had in the history of a Bethesda title here. If this delivers, and now they've been given an extension to polish the game even more, than they normally would for a Bethesda title out the gate, they've got the chance here. If this game drops and it's hitting and everything that Todd has promised, and again, there's plenty of video out there where Todd's promises don't come true. Okay, so I understand that. Again, as much as a fan as I am, I understand he does overpromise and underdeliver. Some of the best creatives do that, but Todd does it on a regular basis. But Starfield, I think, has the chance to be one of those genre-defining, once-in-a-generation type games that we've gotten from them on a consistent basis throughout the decades. So I think that just that alone, if it drops, if it's hitting, the critics get their hands on it, it is beyond what even some people's expectations were as far as what you can do in that game, the experience, the emotions that you feel, the character development, being able to just go do whatever you want to go do and make your own adventures within that giant sandbox that they are going to supply you. Now a universe type sandbox. If that all hits properly, then yeah, I think Starfield is going to be the dominant talking point of next year, and would just carry right on in. And it's going to be a game that people are playing for years and years and potentially decades after it's come out. So yeah, I think Starfield really could be that one.
I do agree. And once again, I know I called it Breath of the Wild too, but that Zelda, you can't underrate. I think the Splatoon just did like 3.5 in Japan by itself.
Yeah.
Splatoon 3. So we can't really underestimate that. Nintendo thing is selling like hotcakes, man. So I do think that's that's going to be very close. But I do agree. I do think potentially, Pong, here, if we look at what Starfield should be, once again, genre-defining game we're going to be able to play for 7 to 10 years, more than likely. If they deliver on what Todd said that that we're going to be getting, it could be something very, very special. That we once again never seen before. So I'm super, super interested to see what they actually give us. What I want to see the reviews. I'm curious to see when we start hearing about people getting their hands on it. We start seeing people make little emojis and talk, make little coded messages about a game they just got in the mail or something like that.
Hopefully it's like a month in advance.
Yeah,
hopefully
like not too far in advance.
Yeah, but but they give them enough time, because again, that's the problem with a game like this, is if you don't give those reviewers enough time, they're not going to experience a lot, because even a month, they're not going to see but a fraction of that game, right? Even if you're playing it religiously, you're only going to see a fraction. Yeah, you probably get through the main part of the game, but all the rest that goes into a Bethesda title will be missed. And that's what really makes Bethesda titles special. So hopefully they get them in advance. But yeah, I can't wait for that too, PTK. The hype is going to be real. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be insane. And I can't wait to bask to bask in it. I'm gonna love it, man. So once again, that's all entirely dependent on the product that we get once the game actually drops. So we shall see. But let's throw this over to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. Where you at on this, brother? I mean, that was a runaway option. This wasn't even close.
All right. Well, I'm going to say what I voted for versus what I actually feel, kind of thing. And I have to look over my shoulder, make sure the Undertaker isn't standing over me here.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Salty.
Before you say this, you understand what you're about to say, right?
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
Well, we don't need to hear you, so let's move on.
Moving right along. No, no, but I voted for Zelda, and it's only because even though it's not a game I'm even remotely interested in, I've never been a Zelda fan. I just know that everything seems to get compared to Breath of the Wild, and the equivalent of Breath of the Wild 2, the Tears of the Kingdom. I think that's going to almost have that same following and same buzz about it. That's not to say that Starfield won't have a lot of buzz, but I just think there's going to be, considering the somewhat bias
Nintendo
in
has
the gaming media,
that unfair Disney magic to them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like they have this. I don't even know what you call it, Pong. You understand what I'm trying to say, Fuzz? Like it's this Disney like magic when they have these games that come out that people just grasp onto that for whatever reason Sony can't create, and and Xbox can't really recreate. So
I think it's a matter, and this is going to be a little bit of shade thrown at the gaming media, but it's because they have this attachment to Nintendo because they grew up on Nintendo. There's always this special spotlight or special place in their heart for anything that's Nintendo related to some extent. And I think that's the only reason why I think there'll be more buzz generated for Tears of the Kingdom. I just think that's the I guess deciding factor. And on the flip side of things, some of those same media outlets will be looking to nitpick the slightest thing. Like we've already seen it where, oh, there's thousands of planets. That's too many planets. Oh my God. It's like because of it being an Xbox title, it almost seems like there's going to be this segment that are going to be trying to push anti-buzz to some extent for that game. So I think that's the only real differentiating factor between the two. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm way more excited for Starfield and that buzz that the main thing I'll see is the buzz for that, because I don't really follow any, Nintendo creators and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, you'll probably see just a bit more love or attention given to the Zelda game just because of it being a Nintendo, beloved IP type of deal. But that's my stance on it. Still hyped for Starfield. I think in the grand scheme of things, it will probably be the longer standing title as far as playtime and reference or compared to future things that will come out. Instead of it being like, oh, I wish this game was more like Mass Effect, it's going to be more like, I wish this game was like Starfield for a lot of the sci-fi or NASA punk type space games in the future. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do. Once again, I do think Starfield has like the highest potential ceiling if everything lands what's supposed to be. Like if the game hits where we think it's gonna hit, I think it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a huge experience, and kudos to once again Todd and Bethesda. We're not gonna get ahead of ourselves, but I think they're working on something truly, truly special. So let's move on to the next topic. You got the warm up out the way. Shout out to everybody watching live. I saw Mav in here. Shout out to Mav, the FSP love in the chat. I see you, Gabe. Shout out to Sean too. Once again, Talos, Ray, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys' continued support every week here at the Shop Podcast. So we're rolling right in, and I think I'm going to open this up. I want to talk about a little bit about Xbox at TGS. There was a lot of shows this week. Nintendo had a direct. Sony had a state of play. As well as Xbox had a great show. It was about a 50-minute show at TGS, and I think they did a great job. I want to say something before I throw this over to you, Silent, because I want to get this out of the way. I really don't think people understand the progress Xbox has made in Japan. I really think people are underselling what they've done and the progress they've made and what really they showed at TGS and really showed the partnerships and the leaps that they've made in that territory. Not necessarily in sales, although the sales are on par or better than I believe 360 at this current point in time. Once again, chat, let me know. I'm pretty sure they're about on par. So they're headed in a great direction. But let's start with you on this one, Silent. Where you at with the overall show at TGS? Would you like this that you saw?
So yeah, I'm really excited for them, honestly. Just the fact that they're starting to open up that market more, right? Like, I mean, Xbox One, they took it on the chin, something fierce. It was a self-inflicted scenario
Yeah.
in a lot of that stuff, and it was unfortunate to watch. It was a rough time, as I'm sure all you guys were sitting in the same boat. It was a rough time to be an Xbox gamer in general. We saw a lot of franchises that went away. And so to see stuff coming into the ecosystem that's either never been here or hasn't been here for a long time, like that's awesome. I'm really happy to see that they're starting to make some progress out there again. It seems like it was a twofold scenario for them, right? They were able to meet up with at least Hideo Kojima and see what he's doing, catch up on where his progress is at with the his project that he's doing. Like, I feel like this was very much a tactical visit, obviously, because they are able to duck in, check and see what's going
Agreed.
on in the market, see what they're doing, see what they've got cooking in the oven, but also, visit some folks that maybe they are still trying to work some of those deals out. I know they, even talked about the fact that this is kind of, a taste of things to come, as it
Yeah.
were. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see that they're finally starting to make some more progress on that side of things. And I'm really excited to see that they started having stuff pop into Game Pass like immediately afterwards. I think that makes a really big impact with people, especially a lot of folks that just don't go to Xbox for JRPGs or any of those Japanese style games. I think this makes a really good impact for them. Now, is it going to sell consoles right off the bat? I don't know about that. I mean, a lot of these games are kind of older, but at the same time, this is like the foot in the door. This is a good way for them to try out those games, see how they do, and move forward from there. It's like the beginning of the relationship. It's that handshake at the door, and then when things start to go off, then you look at it and you say, oh, well, this actually did really well in Game Pass. What else could we throw over their way? Or maybe Microsoft is like, hey, these are the metrics for the game when you put it in here. Let's move forward, right? Like, let's continue this relationship.
Yeah.
Let's add more to the service. So I think this is a really good opportunity for them to kind of bust that market open and just continue on from here. As far as stuff for me, like, I've never played much in the way of like Ni no Kuni or any of those myself.
Yeah.
So this is actually a really good opportunity for me as well, because I just have never, in my gaming history, I've always been more of a first person guy or a top down RTS. Like, I've bounced around with some different things, but I've just never gotten into those like Japanese style RPGs and stuff. So
Yeah.
for me, this is going to be great, especially where, we know it's going to be a slower year towards the end of, towards the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter. So having some of these items there for me to jump into and try out over the cold season, it's going to be great.
Oh yeah, awesome. And once again, Game Pass, FTW, sorry to
Yeah.
say it, but I mean, we got to be honest about it at this point. It's a great thing, and they're leveraging Game Pass. Obviously, that's probably the first thing that comes to the table when they're having these discussions. Like, what does this game look like in Game Pass? I'm pretty sure that's
100%.
probably the first question that's asked and probably the first metric that they put on the table and said, this is what it looks like when you put a game here, like you just said earlier. So once again, we want to highlight that point, and shout out to everybody in chat. Let us know how you guys feel about this as well, man. I think it was a great TGS. And one thing I want to have you elaborate on, maybe Silent, is just the idea that I understand, like you said, you did make this point that some of the games are older, but once again, it's just the games being in the ecosystem, in my opinion, is ultimately what matters. That shows the growth. That shows that maybe the bridges have been mended in a lot of those relationships that they used to have, that used to be really good, that seemed to go away last generation. So those things seem to have been overcome, and now we're starting to see them being, them being more honest and being upfront about putting games in Game Pass and feeling better about doing so, because that wasn't happening at all before Game Pass obviously was a thing. But where you at with just ultimately where Game Pass is going to go, where Game Pass is going to take these games in that particular market? Because once again, we know the Japanese market, they do things a little bit differently. They're a mobile dominated market. So obviously you mentioned a foot in the door. So how do you think Game Pass is going to play into that market specifically?
I think especially, like, we've seen obviously on Twitter, we've seen an uptick on people posting consoles, buying Series S's, buying Series X, stuff like that. But I think the mobile, the cloud gaming side of it, being able to jump into Game Pass on your phone, being able to access that stuff on the go, whether you're on one of the trains, whether you're on, that market is just so centralized in that side of things, and it feels like it's kind of a master stroke for them to have jumped into the cloud gaming side and started the infrastructure as early as they did this last gen. Like, I remember I think it was like 2017, 2018. I was doing like the early access demos and trying to play it, see how it worked, all that type of stuff. And it's come a long ways. And I think that was a really smart investment for them to make, because moving forward in a market like that, yes, you're going to get some home console buyers, but your mobile side is going to be the big thing. It's going to be the big ticket for you. So if you can jump in there on an app and it's a real quick, easy couple buttons to jump in and you're back into your favorite game, that's going to be a big thing for them. So I think the mobile side is definitely going to be the ticket, at least for a territory like that.
Awesome. I do agree. Once again, I think for the portfolio as well, right? It's important that we get games. The diversity matters, right? Like,
100%.
Obviously, people will argue these type of games don't go well with the Xbox ecosystem. It's a multiplayer-driven ecosystem, which is true. We cannot deny that, because that's where Xbox has kind of built its backbone on Call of Duty, Halo, multiplayer games. But nevertheless, if we look at Xbox roots, the OG Xbox, early on in Xbox 360, this was very present. Like, we had these type of games that created the foundation of what Xbox is currently. So why not have these type of games? And once again, for somebody like you just said this is your first experience. So now you're going to get to play. There's no cost of entry to be able to play, and you're going to get an experience. Whether or not you like it, that remains to be seen, but you do get the opportunity to play the game. So I think that ultimately, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, inevitably, the conversation we always have, right, is, oh, well, are you going to try this game? Well, it's on Game Pass? Well, then, yeah, of course I'm going to try it. Mm-hmm. So, right off the bat, they win the hearts and minds on that side of things with anything that they put into Game Pass, because inevitably, I look at someone like my brother. He's not someone who really goes out of his like bubble of purchases. But if you put something in Game Pass and it's something that he's kind of on the fence about, like, he'll try it. And then more often than not, he comes back and he's like, oh, dude, that was a great game. And so I feel like that's a great leverage for them, because if they can get those deals going, they can fill Game Pass with those games. You're just going to continue to get more people that go into that mindset of, well, it's in Game Pass, I may as well try it, right? Like, it's here, I should try it. And that's going to open up a lot of access to games that wouldn't have necessarily seen as much traffic in the past. So I think for the devs as well as just gamers in general, it's a big win. So,
oh yeah, huge W. And once again, we don't want to underappreciate that, because, like I said, it wasn't too long ago where Xbox had no presence. Last generation. Now the Xbox did have some games. They did start off. People will underrate the hell out of the Xbox One actual like launch lineup. It was actually a freaking solid lineup if you go back and look at the games that the Xbox One launched with. Obviously, it got buried under everything else, but we did have some Japanese supported games when the console launched. It just fell off. Once again, obviously, for better or for worse, obviously better in this particular case, it fell off. So hopefully we get some of that back. And once again, I'm not a huge proponent of JRPGs, but I do love to dabble. I'm like Pong, I'm a grazer. I'll get in and download it and touch it, a couple times for a couple hours and see, what the game actually is about. So let's actually throw this over to you, Pong, get your opinion on Xbox at TGS, bro. I think it was a great show. Very, very, very solid from beginning to end. A lot of cool stuff. So where you at on it, man?
Well, we've been trying to tell people for a while now. If you guys have been listening here, again, me as a big Eastern flavored type gamer, for since I started playing JRPGs back on the NES. Listen, these were the moves that we've talked about here. That Sarah, Phil, the rest of the team, all those trips they made over to Japan. And then we started seeing signs, and we've been talking about this. And I think even when we talked about TGS coming up, I had stated I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that coming our way to Xbox at this point, because they've been putting the effort in, and Xbox is having a resurgence over there. Again, not talking about dominating any market over in the East, right? We're not talking about that. For Xbox, it's about becoming respectable again in the East and having a presence there. They now have a team on the ground in Japan 365 days out of the year, which they never had previously. It was always just trips. You've got to have that consistency to build relationships over there. And that's what's been happening this entire time since Phil took over and made an emphasis to state that he wanted to get more Japanese games, more Eastern style games onto Xbox, because that's what was missing the entire last generation. And so we saw the first big marker was, of course, at the Bethesda Xbox Showcase when Persona 5, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 3 Portable from Atlas was finally announced. Atlas has been, even though they're underneath Sega, they're allowed to operate on their own and make their own decisions. And they were a part of that batch of extremely popular Japanese companies who seem to have something against putting their games on Xbox. Even if they saw the success that Yakuza had when Sega dropped that into Game Pass and all the new fans that were created, there's this mentality sometimes that nobody's going to buy our game. So why do we waste our time? Why even look at Xbox? You've got to cultivate the fan base. So this year's TGS, Phil, Sarah, everybody showing up in person, having Kojima signed, of course, which was another big announcement during the Xbox Bethesda showcase. They showed up in force, and they have obviously been working on these deals. Now, to see a company like Arc System Works come on over and bring Guilty Gear Strive and Blaze Blue to Xbox, that's another strong indication of what's happening here. Again, a company that for an entire generation skipped Xbox completely. That is no longer going to happen. That is now coming to an end. And yes, you can talk about these being older games, and does it really matter? Shout out to Neo GameSpark. He put out a tweet saying, "This is great and all."
Shout out to Neo.
Yeah, shout out to Neo. Love Neo. He put out a tweet saying, "Hey, this is great and all. Love seeing this happen, but I want to see the day and date stuff. I want to see the games coming to Xbox day one. That's when it'll really matter." And he's not wrong, but we've got to start somewhere. And right now, that's the door's been cracked open. And the success that the TGS just was with Nino Kuni, both the remastered already dropping and then number 2 coming next year. And then, like I said, Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, all these games coming to the Xbox ecosystem does actually account for something. It does give credence. It does lend credence to the fact that Xbox is doing the work that needs to be done over there to make this a viable option for those devs and to start building the friendships back. We saw this with Bandai Namco already. They've become very close with them. Obviously, Sega has been very close as well, obviously through the years. But not only just strengthening those, but creating brand new relationships with some of these companies that maybe they didn't have. I even saw Phil come out and say that, Square Enix is a great partnership. Okay, Phil, I love you, but baby, come on, man. We got look, great. I don't know about great. Okay, listen.
That was about as political as it gets, Phil.
Yes.
That was about as political as it gets, man.
But to his credit, right? He's still trying. And there was another interview today. Phil has done a ton of interviews over there, but Famitsu, the premier video game magazine in Japan for decades. Famitsu, everybody who's had any kind of passion for this industry, even back in the day, knows Famitsu was the place. When they dropped those scores, it was a huge deal out of Japan. Famitsu got an interview with Phil. That tells me that something's going on. And when they were interviewing him, they actually asked him about Final Fantasy 14 again. They also brought up Scalebound, by the way, for anybody who didn't see that, which was absolutely hilarious. But they brought up Final Fantasy 14. And Phil says, we're still working on it. We still want to bring that to Xbox. So maybe we got the news this week that Square Enix said, hey, we're open to partnerships. We can't do things the way we've been doing it. We can't make money. So we're looking, maybe Phil's got something brewing with Square Enix, right? At the end of the day. But all of this, again, just indicates to the fact that Xbox has put the time and effort in. They are serious about this. We heard Phil again this week. He was asked on CNBC about acquisitions, and he talked about how great it was to be in person. They're not pausing the acquisitions because of the ABK deal. They can't because this industry is moving. He said that again. And then he talked about how great it was to be in person at TGS. It was great to see the devs, great to see the publishers, get to talk to people, get to talk to our partners over there. And he goes, and if some of those talks turn into an investigative kind of thing on an acquisition, well, then that's great too. He's hinting that they're currently doing this stuff. They're going to make a big purchase over there. They're going to get this to work out one way or another. This is an exciting time, and it's for all of us who love the Eastern flavored games. The fact that this is being made, that these moves are being made, reinforcing that they want Xbox to be diverse in their collection of games, no matter where they come from in the world, because they're trying to dominate the world. Not just the U.S. market anymore is not good enough for Phil and his team. They want the world at this point. 2 billion, 3 billion people. You've got to have all these games. And specifically for Japan and the East that you were talking with Silent about, it makes a big difference because if the Japanese gamers and the Korean gamers and everybody else over there is going to adopt into the Xbox ecosystem and they're going to hop into Game Pass, sure, a lot of them love Western style games, just like we like Eastern style games. That's always going to be there. But they also have to know that their favorites are going to be in that service as well. They have to know that, hey, or if they're not even in Game Pass, that they're available to actually buy, which has been a problem during the X1 generation. So that's what Phil's doing. He's solidifying that. So when those people start looking at Xbox, which they're doing more and more and more over there, when they see and they say, okay, what games can I get? They see the recognizable games that they know and love from that side of the world as well. It's not just, oh, I'm investing in an American company, so I'm going to get all Western games, but I don't get any of my favorites, so I'm still going to have a Switch or I'm still going to have PlayStation 5. No, they're going to start seeing those Japanese games lists grow. They're going to start seeing all the familiar titles showing up in the Xbox, and they're going to be confident when they make that purchase because they can also say to themselves, as a bonus, I can stream my games. As a bonus, I'm going to be able to play a lot of these games on my phone. As a bonus, I might be getting some of these games in Game Pass that I'm looking forward to. So all that adds up to that momentum that we talked about that Xbox has, that I think console-wise, if they can outsell 360 this generation with the Xbox Series consoles, that's got to be considered one of the biggest wins for Phil and his team coming out of this generation. If they can surpass
that definitely goes on a resume.
It's huge. It's huge. It's gigantic. And I think that's where they're headed right now. So I'm excited to see this. TGS was a huge W for Xbox in more ways than one, not just the content that we got, the interviews that Phil did, reiterating all the stuff that we've talked about many, many times here. Really, really, they are making their presence felt. They are turning heads. Again, when Famitsu requests an interview of Phil, you know something's going on. Because I can almost guarantee you, I don't know. I haven't looked through every single Famitsu magazine or looked up all the stories they've done, but I don't think the Xbox One generation they ever did an interview with Phil. I really don't.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
So it's huge. It's huge. It was a great week for Xbox.
Awesome, and I 100% agree. And once again, we cannot undersell this. I've seen some people trying to undersell this. I do not understand where that energy comes from because literally they had zero presence last generation. And for them to already make this type of turnaround is amazing. Once again, these games were not even in the ecosystem. They didn't even think about putting these games on Xbox One at all. That was the bottom of the list. So it's just awesome to see that the work that Phil's put in and the team's put in over there is actually paying off. We already got some great stuff coming to Game Pass. The fact that these games are coming to Game Pass is just a bonus And that's another big, huge W for Phil on his resume. Once again, if he's able to pull off what you just said, Pong, that's probably going to be. I'd almost put that at the top of what he's accomplished at Xbox.
It's going to be.
If we're being honest.
Yeah, no, for sure, because it means so much for their future, right? Yeah. And I got real quick too, just as a side note, shout out to Chris Jones, brother, in the chat because I saw him in here. Another game that never would have ever made an appearance on Xbox this week, but it's Chris Jones's favorite. It's one of my top JRPGs of all time as well. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters are coming to Xbox. That never, ever would have come to Xbox last generation. There would never been any talk about it, and it's coming. So that's huge.
It's crazy. Huge. I believe that news dropped this week as well. So, and once again, that was huge you just have to know, like, that's something that would have never, ever happened. So once again, the fact that these things are actually happening in reality, we're getting these changes is huge for Xbox. Shout out to Bacon. What's up, brother? Let's go ahead and throw this over to you for us. Get your opinion on this before we move on.
I think the biggest thing, one of the games that was already on my wish list on Steam was Guilty Gear Strive. So the fact that it's coming next year to Xbox is kind of a win, because I prefer to kind of keep things on the Xbox ecosystem as opposed to kind of mixing between Xbox and Steam and stuff. But I think Pong knocked it out of the park as far as with the way the future of Xbox is headed, considering these early steps. And these early steps are a lot bigger than what people are going to give credit for. And sure, there are a lot of fans of the PlayStation brand that are like, well, they're old games and blah blah blah. And it's like, typically the ones that are complaining about the fact that Xbox is getting these old games are the ones that usually don't even play those games to begin with. It's just stuff for their list war stuff. But outside of all the console war aspects and things, I think we've seen how serious not just Xbox is, but Microsoft as a whole, with backing Xbox this generation in comparison to previous, how serious they are about reaching more gamers pretty much everywhere on any type of device type of deal. So what we saw at TGS, sure, there were some of their, Western announcements and things, but I think a lot of the announcements based on that region that we're going to be getting here in the States, as far as for our console, just is an open door to what, actually not even an open door. It's more of like a domino effect. I think in the grand scheme of things, you'll see more and more devs start to pay more attention as some of these studios are now putting or making the effort to put their games either in Game Pass or at least on the system. That's going to make others pay attention as they see games that will, much like Yakuza, do quite well in the service. I'm pretty sure that word is going to spread, and it'll be pretty much a domino effect in the overall. But there was a lot of stuff that was great to see. But like I said, my biggest one was Guilty Gear Strive. That was the main one. I'm like, can we get it? And I already knew we had Persona from their summer event, but just seeing some of these other games and updates on like the Exoprimal and things like that was pretty cool as well. And I don't think it's completely done. And there's also a lot of other games that are going to be multi-plat that are coming there to Xbox as well that probably wouldn't have been the case. That kind of slide under the radar. I forget which one I posted like a video clip of before, but it's kind of like a horror game type of deal, which I love a lot of the horror games that come from that region.
That Karma one?
Yeah. So there's plenty of them that are kind of still slipping under the radar, but I think whether they wind up in Game Pass day and date or you eventually see them in the Xbox store, I think we're going to get a nice fill not only of JRPGs, not only of fighters, which I think the resurgence of fighters is probably one of the golden moments, at least for me, as far as a lot of the games are concerned. But you're going to see a lot of the horror games that are I wouldn't say along the lines of like the movie The Ring and things like that, but a similar type of like dark horror type games and things like that, and I'm all for it. So looking forward to more of those things coming to our platform. So you can't knock the hustle that they've been doing these past few years between Phil and Sarah going over there and making trips and making deals or partnering with a lot of the devs. Like I think they have like a lot of the indie devs that are over there. They have like what 200 that they've reached out to and that they're working
250,
with.
Sarah. Yeah, 250. Sarah updated it. Yeah,
250. So it's like I think
That's insane. That's
yeah,
crazy.
I think this will be another flood. Like we always talk about the first party stuff that's going to be coming these next few months and stuff. I think this will be another flood of games that is just going to keep us occupied for years to come. And it's a great step forward.
Absolutely. And once again, like I said, I love the variety. I'm just a variety, spice of life kind of person. It is who I am. But let me go ahead and get to a super chat. Shout out to you, Chris Jones, for the $2 super chat. He said, "Oh, I'm here. Pseudokin HD remasters. Woo!" Shout out to you, man. Once again, it was a huge support. This is left field. Nobody knew this was coming. Obviously, it was such a sight to behold. Once again, like this is something that you just don't think will ever happen, and it actually is happening. It does show the growth of Xbox in that territory. And it's one of the big things that we've always questioned. We talked about, are they just going to wrap it up, just fucking pack the tent up, take the shit home and say, you know what, we're not even going to bother with Japan? Or they going to back up? Is Phil ever going to, back up what he said that he wants to do? And, Japan is really, really important to him. And we're actually seeing that at work. So it's really, really, really cool to see, man. Shout out to everybody in chat, man. But we are moving on here. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about, man. And we're going to actually throw this over to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. And you're going to take us on over into the next topic, brother.
This one will probably be a bit of a short one, only because I'm kind of in the market for a VR headset. And after, the whole Facebook, $100 price increase, I was halfway tempted to buy one or the Quest 2 or whatever as like an impulse buy, but it's like, no, that's just what they want. They want you to go ahead and buy it. But I figure there'll be more sales to come as far as like for the holiday season and whatnot. But we got a little bit more details on the PSVR 2, which, yes, I skipped out on the PSVR 1 because I kind of missed the boat on getting the PS4 Pro. So I'm like, I'll just wait. I'm pretty sure these things will carry over to the next generation. And then there was the talk of the PSVR 2 headset. So I'm like, just me thinking logically that a lot of these games would be backwards compatible and be able to carry over. But I probably should have known Sony for being Sony that they are now in this new mode of wanting to resell a game that they may have sold you before. They're kind of picking up on the Nintendo model that seems to work so well. But with the recent news dropping of the PSVR 2 games not being, or PSVR 1 games not being compatible on the PSVR 2, and yes, I understand the difference in the external head tracking versus the internal, but it's something that even on PC that you're able to see some of those games transfer over from like some of the earlier VR games working on newer stuff, whether it be through streaming or update from the dev. There are efforts, which I'm not going to say that they're minute, but there are efforts that studios can make to make it easier to be a transition for the newer style hardware. So I'll throw this over to you, PTK, first. Well, actually, no, Silent Cypher first, since he's the guest. With the announcement of the PSVR 2 and not being compatible with PSVR 1, is this something that was maybe a deal breaker, or were you interested in PSVR at all, whether it be the previous gen PSVR or the current or the soon to be PSVR 2 coming, I guess, early next year or some point next year?
So for me at this point, I mean, I play the PSVR a little bit when I go over to my friend's house. But as far as actually adopting and kind of diving into it myself, it's just not really been a thing that I've been, I haven't been on the ledge, like just waiting to be like, oh man, give me a reason to jump into this so I can just buy it, impulse buy.
Yeah.
The last time I played something on VR, and this is going to sound bad. Well, the last time that I actually bought something VR was when I think it was when I got my last Samsung phone, like a few years back. They were offering their VR ones, and it was when you would tack the phone into the actual VR headset, and you would just use the screen as your VR headset.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that's night and day difference from what we're talking about on these systems, the Quest and all those things as well. But it just, it's one of those things, and I don't know if it's maybe just because once you have kids, you're just in a different mindset. You're in a different frame of mind with it. But
Mhm.
I can't piece out for like hours on end or even like a half an hour sometimes without needing to make sure that I can hear what's going on around me. I can see what's going on around me.
Mhm.
Because granted, my kids are older now, but there's just always that possibility that they need me or that
Yeah.
they're trying to play a prank on me. And, they take advantage of the fact that I can't see anything.
Mhm.
So, I kind of missed the boat on that, unfortunately. Now, in regards to pricing and all that stuff, like if I had been in the market, and granted, my son is trying to force my hand right now to make us get a VR
Mhm.
because, of course, he watches YouTube videos, so
Yeah.
everyone tries to sell him things. Um, at some point, there's a possibility I might end up with a VR headset. I did just upgrade my computer recently, so if I did something, I could handle it. My system could handle it decently.
Mhm.
But I feel like I missed the boat on that one, and it's just been such a hard thing for me to pull the trigger. Even if the price change hadn't happened, I don't know if that really would have affected my purchasing decision,
Yeah.
personally.
Well, that's
Um,
fair.
yeah.
No, that's a fair point because I like same deal with one of my sons with their birthday coming up next month. It's like he was like, "Well, I don't know if I want a headset or a Switch," and it's like, "Well, I'm like, you better make up your mind because otherwise it's going to be one's the birthday and the other one might be the Christmas gift." Now, bear in
Right.
mind, my kids are turning 17 in October, and
Mm,
and these gifts are more so like the push or encouragement for them doing well in school. So it's like, all right, you guys are handling college and high school at the same time. So all right, I'll step up on the gifts a bit. But yeah, VR was always that thing that I've been interested in, but it's like I need more than just one or two games that really draw me in. And there's definitely one from PSVR one that I've always been on the fence for, and that just didn't have like a supporting library to really convince me otherwise. And that was, I think it was Farpoint, which was kind of like a space shooter game that they had. And I'm like, well, I'll get that, and a couple of games that I think that they're working on for PSVR two, and I'll be set. And kind of nix that thought process for me with the lack of backwards compatibility. But hopping over to you, PTK, what are your thoughts as far as like when it comes to VR, either in general or with the I guess the PSVR two being the latest and greatest. If you have a PSVR one, you're still going to have to hang on to it to play the PSVR one games.
Well, I don't want to be naive. I do understand the actual technical constraints. So let's start there,
Yeah.
right? We want to make sure we have the facts. This is what we do here at the Shop Podcast. We're not
Mhm.
going to fluff over the facts. So the facts are technically they're not the same device, right?
Right.
From they don't run on the same hardware. The tracking is completely different. One is external, the other one's internal. So that
Mhm.
works differently. So starting there, I do think it's unfortunate that is a design flaw. So I do have to be honest about that because when you're and if we're being completely honest, I understand people do there's a group of people that really enjoy VR. I am not in that group.
Mhm.
So I feel the same way about VR, like Silent just stated earlier. I'm just I don't even know what to call it. I'm just so used to playing video games a certain way. I've dabbled into VR. I did play the original PSVR. Had one here at the house for a short period of time. So the kids played on it majority of the time. A lot of time, I believe it was like Just Dance and Beat Saber. They played that
Mhm.
95% of the time, which does work well for VR.
Yeah.
You're in it for 2 or 3 minutes and you're out. Like that's fine. Like no,
Mhm.
that works great. It's a cool like party device. you know, you got kids around, you got other people around that they just want to experience something different. That's cool, but I'm not sold on, you know, this is going to be the next level of video games for me and my family. Although I do think if we had one, the kids would definitely use it. Like, we don't own it anymore, but it was here for a little while. And they did play on it fairly regularly. So I can't say that, you know, my children wouldn't play it, but ultimately for me, I'm just really not in on it as of yet. Once again, the library, the lack of games, they're just very, like, at this current point in time, there's very specific types of games that work with VR. You know, you always got to compensate for people's like motion sickness and all that other just like human stuff that you have to compensate for. That greatly limits what you're able to do. Now, mind you, there are some great examples of it being like working really well. And you know, you get those here and there, but ultimately I've never been 100% sold on, and that's just me being honest. Chat, like I said, it's what we do here. But yeah, that's where I'm at on it. And I don't agree with the whole, you know, maybe selling you the games over again. I don't know if they'll take that route. I hope they don't, because this is already just on surface level, it doesn't look good. If you double down and say, you know what, we're actually gonna make you buy these games over again, that looks even worse than this does. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I hope they figure out some other way, maybe a patch, maybe an update later on down the line. I don't know how easy that is. I'm not in IT. I don't, you know, I don't have an insider that gives me that information. So, Chad, if you know, let us know in chats. But that's where I'm at on it, Fuzz.
Nice. Yeah, I'm still, like I said, I want to hop or pull the trigger on it, but it's like I think waiting is probably the best move for me at the current moment, just for the fact that it seems like not every manufacturer has come up with a across the board solution where, you know, if you buy the tech today, is it going to be usable?
It's gonna
You know,
take some
2 to
time.
3, 4 years from now.
It's gonna take some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
think
take some time.
I think some folks will get to the point where, like you were saying, with like some of the PC side of it, you know, you'll see some of those, they'll get a firmware update or get some sort of update where they can jump over to it, you know, add some extra support so that way it is functional or compatible on both. But yeah, I mean, it seems a lot easier for them to pull the sketchy job of like, hey, you know, for $10 more, you can get our new version instead.
True.
But that's just me being cynical.
So, Pong, as far as when it comes to VR, what are your thoughts as far as the PSVR 2 versus the PSVR 1, as far as the backwards compatibility not being a thing at the current moment? Is that something that you think Sony will work towards fixing or correcting, or is it by design kind of thing?
It's by design. Come on, folks. This is come on. All those engineers over at Sony. You got Mark Cerny, one of the most celebrated engineers in video game history, and you're telling me you can't figure out how to make this work somehow for your customers, or have a backup plan if it wasn't going to work, to be able to say, by the way, we can't make them work this way, but we're working on patches, or we're doing something in the future, and we hope to bring a select library of those PSVR 1 games to you eventually, something like that. Nah, man, this is all planned out. They're either going to remaster them, charge you full price again, tell you all the new features that have been added to them and why you need that game again, or like you guys said, the ones that they can do that to, they're going to charge you a $10 upgrade fee. They've already set this. They've done this with their regular games. Why would they not do it with PSVR? This is their MO. This is how they make their extra money. With as much as Jim is crying about Call of Duty right now, you're telling me that they're not looking for more ways to make money? Come on, of course they are. I think this is a shitty move. I think it goes again. I understand. I've been an early adopter of tech a lot of times in my life. So I understand the risks that you take inherently with early adoption, especially of a niche type of product like VR still is at this moment in time. And again, even though I have zero interest until you can jack me in like the Matrix, I have zero interest in VR. That does not mean that I don't understand that it could be the future. And I've given Sony credit for being one of the companies that has continued to push forward in that space because there could be a breakthrough where all of a sudden VR becomes extremely viable, becomes extremely popular, and all of a sudden we're moving into a new medium. That's cool with me. I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, right now, for Sony to once again take their customer base. Now you're talking about even a very small slice of that hardcore customer base that picked up PSVR 1. And you're telling them that their library is not coming forward with them with the new iteration in 2022. I don't like it. And I think it is a part of a master plan here. So, but that's just my opinion. Who knows? Maybe they'll shock us. But at the end of the day, I think this is a bad move. You noticed how this blog post, and I'm not even sure who was talking about it. Jasper thought maybe it was a mistake on their part that it wasn't supposed to come out yet. But listen, they posted this blog post, this interview on a Friday, which we know is bad news drop day, right? That's when you drop all the bad news. So I got to imagine it was planned that this was how they were going to kind of say it. And hopefully people weren't going to pay a whole lot of attention, but we know now in social media world that doesn't never work. So everybody now knows about it. Excuse me, I had to cough. So I think I just think that I don't like it. I think it's a bad move on their part, especially after everything they've got going on. Like I said, this is another misstep for Sony too. They had a great week with their state of play. Like we've had the bad news. We've had Jim out in the public, fighting with Phil. We've had all that nonsense going on. We talked about this. Sony of old or Sony last generation, always, if they had something like that or they had bad news, they always followed up. That's why we all thought there was a state of play coming or a showcase at some time coming, right? Just to get, because it cleanses the palate. Everybody forgets about it and everybody moves on. And this came right after the price increase on their hardware worldwide, except for the United States. So I thought they did a great job. State of play killed it. I thought it was fantastic. I did a nice job there. And then now just a couple days later on a Friday, you go, oh, by the way, that nice PSVR library you invested in for us. Thank you. But you're not taking that with you. So sorry about that. Again, just a misstep that we're not used to seeing. But this is Sony in a defense mode. This is Sony in a panic mode right now. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of this stuff happen. But it's standard practices for Sony at this point. So I'm not going to give them the credit. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong on this one. I think they're doing to make more money down the road.
And I tend to agree with you to the extent where they have the compatibility for the PSVR 1 to work on the PS5. So it almost seems like you would have thought if you're going to make that effort to make that a carryover item, that you would also at the beginning or at the early stages of the engineering of the PSVR 2 figure out a way, whether it be software related or something, that you'd be able to carry that over, or at least some of the components from the PSVR 1. If you wanted to play those older games and you had that original PSVR 1, maybe reuse those controllers or something to that effect to help with the the update or the differences between them. But I guess we'll really find out how solid this is going to be when they officially announce the price. I'm kind of thinking now Sony is with the features that are in this headset that it's going to be 500 plus. So if you want to play PSVR 2, I think it's going to wind up being like $1,000 purchase between the console and the headset before you even get your first game. But we'll see. But that's just something that was on my mind that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with Sony, and they've been doing that a lot lately. But it is what it is. We'll see for sure in a year or so.
Awesome. So once again, chat, let us know what you guys think about that, man. Once again, it's something that we've talked about. Sony's been in a very precarious situation, and we've talked about it the last few weeks, man. It's something that's come up regularly on the podcast. We're seeing Sony have to make these moves in real time. This is us watching Sony do this. This never used to happen. Sony was super secretive. A lot of things they did was super private, behind the scenes. We're seeing Sony have to make moves in real time. They're having to adapt in real time. It's interesting to watch. I'm gonna use that word going forward here. It's very, very interesting to watch and kind of see, where they put their chess pieces and kind of where things land at. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Pong. I know you got another great topic lined up for us, brother.
Nope, I don't have anything this week. Sorry. I'm gonna do kind of a fun one here. So listen, we talked about this last year that Battlefield had a chance, right, to take back some of the mind share from Call of Duty because Call of Duty Vanguard was down,
Yeah.
and it still wound up selling incredibly well, right? It's Call of Duty, but we all said that it was definitely not what Activision wanted out of their Call of Duty. And then we started getting word that Infinity Ward was working on Modern Warfare 2. And we said, look, Battlefield, you got to take it while you got it. And you got to do something big. And of course, they fumbled completely, landed on their face, broke their nose. And now they're back to the drawing board with Zempella. But this week, on top of everything that was happening on TGS, we also got Call of Duty next this week, a full-blown blowout of Modern Warfare 2, where they deep dived a lot. I don't know if you guys watched this.
I didn't get to watch it, man. I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. The production that they put on, I can't remember a Call of Duty like this. They flew in like 150 gamers, streamers from around the world, including Ninja and everybody there to do live streaming of the game after they got done talking about it. They went out of the way to say that this Call of Duty is now setting up the foundation for all the future Call of Duties. And they went into some big detail. So I know you didn't get to see it, PTK, but I'm going to read from Forbes some of the stuff that they went through. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what everybody kind of thoughts on Modern Warfare 2 is here. So Eric Kane, senior contributor over at Forbes, broke down everything we learned about Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2.0. And so let's see, Activision Infinity Ward revealed a ton of new information about both Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2.0 during today's Call of Duty Next Showcase. And then it goes on to say new features coming to the game include 2-player co-ops, swimming mechanics, which has been in the games before. So, but it seems like there's going to be a lot more water this time. So they said they made an emphasis that they've changed up combat in the water and swimming mechanics, and they showed it off. 3 versus 3 raids. They're bringing raids into Call of Duty. Third-person playlists. Yes, you're going to be able to play in a third-person view.
I saw a video of that on Twitter.
Yep. Shout out to Steel Rain, who is super excited for this. Vehicle gameplay and revamped Gunsmith 2.0. So here's the breakdown. Yes. A new Gunsmith allows players to swap between weapons more smoothly than ever before while offering unprecedented opportunities for customization. Ricochet, the of course an ad's going to pop up there. Why wouldn't it? Thank you, Forbes. That's always awesome. Ricochet, an anti-cheat, is built on a new unified security platform, giving Team Ricochet more power to protect fair play and update more frequently than ever before with new features and mitigations to protect the game. Special Ops, Spec Ops is back, is a revamped 2-player cooperative experience allowing you to explore large-scale hot zones with your fellow teammate. New gameplay features and movement tactics include swimming, water combat, tactical sprint. Dolphin dive is back, folks. That's freaking amazing. Awesome. Mantling, you're going to be able to mantle and ledge hang for true tactical edge. A new dynamic vehicle gameplay with all new vehicle features, including enhanced destructions and more action-oriented maneuvers such as leaning out of the vehicle windows, mantling onto vehicle roofs, destroying environments, and more. Third-person playlists offer more ways to play and a new tactical way to play multiplayer. A whole new experience. That's the DMZ zone, by the way, the sandbox that they talked about, where you're going to be able to extract or protect prisoners. It's going to be freaking amazing. Whole new experience for the franchise. Raids will be coming later this year after launch. Raids will be 3v3 and focus on team communication and coordination like never before. And then in Warzone 2, the map is called El Mazara, a fictional desert map located in the Middle East. That's where the DMZ extraction zone comes in as well. On top of the Battle Royale mode, players can also play the new DMZ mode, a sandbox experience that goes live when the game launches. Earlier rumors had pinned DMZ to Modern Warfare 2, but it's actually a part of Warzone 2, so it will be free to play. This is basically a PvPvE loot and shoot experience. So, and they're nice. Bringing in almost a Titanfall experience with the bots that are going to be running with you. It's 20. Oh God, how did it go? Is it 20 on 20 or something like? Is it 20 on 20? And then they're going to have 20 more bots on each team, so it's like 40v40 is what it winds up being. But these bots are not just going to happen to be there; they're going to drop in out of helicopters in the map. So like that spawning that you see in Titanfall, where they land and drop ships and that kind of stuff. That's what it reminded me when they talked about it. So it's going to be cool. Brand new circle mechanics. So they're taking the old BR circle and they're doing a little something different. As that circle gets smaller, eventually it may break up into up to 3 different smaller circles. So that's going to be tactical. It's going to space out. Your team could get separated and then eventually go back to one circle towards the end. Excuse me, I had to cough again. Sorry. There are bot factions, which we just kind of talked about. Gulag 2.0. You're going to be partnered with somebody. It's going to be 2v2. Now, a lot of people aren't happy with this one, so we're going to have to see how this one plays out. But it's going to be 2v2. You're going to have to loot for weapons and deal with the jailer for even more player options and surprises. Basically, a 2v2 gunfight where you team up with an opponent to defeat other opponents to get back into the match. New social features for the community across the entire experience with re-emphasized social connectivity. Large maps, ground war maps are a part of Al Mazara. Map as points of interest during the weekend of the beta players can jump into, Sharif's Bay, etc. They also talked about how they are going to be introducing, you're going to see old maps like the Quarry that are going to be introduced into the game as well. So you'll be running through an area of Warzone, and all of a sudden you're going to recognize the map. You're going to be like, I've been here before. What is this? So they're dropping old favorite maps into that as well to increase it. They also talked about mobile Warzone. They're integrating mobile Warzone. It's basically Warzone. The first Warzone is now going to be available on mobile. And your progress is going to carry over across everything, no matter where you're playing.
That's crazy.
So it's going to be crazy. There was so much more in this Call of Duty Next. That was kind of overview of the major features. But guys, I don't know if PTK, I know you didn't see the actual video, but I don't know if you watched anybody playing the beta. It looks freaking amazing. Shout out to 108 Dragons. He streamed for 6 hours yesterday on the beta on PS5 because it's out for PS5 right now, early access. The sound, even through the stream, I'm already going to say this is going to be the best sounding Call of Duty all time, and that's saying a lot. This already is incredible. The maps look fantastic from what I saw, incredibly well laid out. Look, Modern Warfare 2 is, I think, on the precipice of going to probably be, I'm saying it already, that it's going to be the best-selling Call of Duty all time. I think this one breaks records.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I really do. I think they
Wow.
are setting this up as this is now going to be, remember, we're not getting another Call of Duty until 2024. So this is going to be a two-year plan on Call of Duty. But the amount of content that they are putting into this, the amount of changes that they're making to freshen everything up between Warzone and regular Call of Duty. You throw the campaign in there, which is looking just like a movie. It looks stellar right now. This is going to be, I'm saying, the biggest Call of Duty ever. I think this is going to put Call of Duty back to that it's always on the pinnacle. Let's be real here. That again, Vanguard still sold well, but I think everybody's going to come back, flocking back to Call of Duty, and I think this is going to be the one that's going to set the bar for all future Call of Duties once again, because it's Infinity Ward. The time that they put into this, the thought that they put into this is incredible. So let me go to you first, Silent Cypher. I don't know what you got to see this week. I don't know how closely you've been watching Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or what your current thoughts are on it, but give me your kind of opinion where you think Modern Warfare 2 could go and what's kind of stood out to you. If you've been able to see any of this, what stood out to you is what's really attractive as far as Call of Duty goes.
Oh man, where to begin on that one?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I always really enjoy doing the campaigns. So right off the bat, that's definitely something I'll be jumping into and hammering out over the first little bit. But man, seeing everything because I did get to watch some of the videos and stuff, seeing like the Warzone 2.0 side of things, my God, like I really enjoyed that first one. There was a lot of depth to it. There was a lot of content. It was very well supported. Now, granted, it was a lot of like new operators and stuff like that. But, even just the map in general, it was super environment rich. There was so much going on in that map. I like the idea of what you were talking about, where they can put those different sections and segments and stuff into the map and actually make them kind of their own areas. It's like where they did like that Supermart place, or when they did like Nuketown and stuff, and they added those into them.
Yep.
I think that's a really cool way to kind of make those maps live inside that bigger multiplayer suite, right? For me, God, I definitely could see this one being the biggest one. It looks like it's had a lot of love and a lot of polish put on it versus some of the previous ones that we've seen. Vanguard, whether you liked it or not, or whether you ended up just like skipping it because you heard bad news on it, the campaign was good. The multiplayer was cool. But this looks to be a beast on its own. I guess in an instance like this, I guess you can't argue with Jim Ryan when he says that it's a behemoth, right? Like it's on a league of its own. This video, the footage that they showed us, definitely shows that they have put their best foot forward from what I can tell so far with this new iteration. And even just you talking about all the details and stuff, like I was overwhelmed, but I kind of got a little bit of a chill down my spine because I was like, man, it kicks back to those nostalgia beats. Like the first couple times I played Warzone 1.0, and I'm just like, dude, there's something here. And I no-lifed that thing for a good amount of time, playing that with my brother, with some of my other friends and stuff. Like even people who hadn't really played Call of Duty previously, that was a game type that they got into and they were hooked because they had played PUBG, stuff like that. So it was another way to get them into the Call of Duty drug, as it were. So yeah, dude, I am so stoked for it. I want to dive into it. I just wish they were coming out sooner.
I know, right? I know.
But yeah, I'm kind of nerding out on it a little bit. But yeah, I'm absolutely stoked for it. I'm excited to see these guys do this. And when you mentioned the audio level, like the level of fidelity that they're going for in that, I remember when they were doing the Dev Diary stuff, going into the Call of Duty World War II iteration. And again, like some folks weren't really big on that one, but the audio quality and the fidelity in that game was amazing. If you had a good headset on, hearing those mortar rounds land next to you, all those things, like the grenades going off, it was insane. Like you could hear so much discrete audio in that game. And so stuff like that, especially after playing PUBG for so long, that discrete audio, those footsteps, all that stuff around you, like that intrigues me. That intrigues my nerdy side of it, because like that allows you to bring that game, if you want to go more in depth with it, throw on a nice headset, go in there, and you can play that game at a different level. Because if you play it on your regular stereo system, like your speaker system, it's just not the same.
Right.
But yeah,
that's stoked. Awesome to hear, man. And to your Warzone point, I'm not a battle royale player. I don't like battle royales, but what they're talking about here, especially with the DMZ, more team tactics, that kind of stuff, bringing in the bots as well to give a PvPvE kind of thing. I'm already saying to myself, I'm going to jump into Warzone 2.0 and try it out. So they are just taking everything that they learned over the past, couple iterations here and really bumping it up. And I think Infinity Ward, to your point as well, has put all that love and care as being the best Call of Duty in most people's eyes. Not everybody, but most people's eyes think Infinity Ward is the best. They're showing why. And I think they're coming back and really with the new engine, moving forward into this new generation, that they're really saying, hey, we're back. This is the stamp. We're setting the bar. This is it. So I'm glad you're stoked, man. That was good to hear. And I didn't know that you had played that much Warzone, so that's even better because Warzone 2 is obviously a focal point for them. That is the bread and butter moneymaker at this point. So they're going to want everybody and more to come back to that. So Fuzzy, for
Mhm.
you, sir, you being an Insurgency player,
Mhm.
hardcore, you like your shooters for sure.
Mhm.
You definitely like tactical shooters, which I know.
Yeah.
But for you, when you see something like the Gunsmith 2.0 and the ability to get in there, and now this year, for people who don't know, Gunsmith has already been a pretty big hit with people. Gunsmith has opened up a lot of stuff, but there was always this want that they had, that they wanted you to be able to open up universally certain accessories so that you didn't have to grind it out. And the
Mhm.
other big one was the receiver, that they wanted you to be able to take an assault class, let's say the AK-47, and you open up the thermal scope, you open up the silencer, you open up the extended mag, all that good stuff. But then all of a sudden you're like, no, I want to run SMG, but I like my AK-47.
Mhm.
They wanted always to give you the option to be able to swap that out into an SMG, but the receiver was always the problem. Now they've got it worked out. So you can take that AK-47, swap it out with an AK-47U receiver. Now you got
Mhm.
an SMG and you get to keep all your attachments. Brother, you get to keep them all.
Crazy.
So it is crazy. It is crazy. So for you seeing this, what's piqued your interest? I know the gun, obviously modifications, all that stuff is right up your alley, but
Oh yeah.
is there more to it? Did you get to watch a lot of it? What did you see that you really liked coming from a more tactical shooter standpoint? What did you see?
Well, there was a couple of things. The big thing, Gunsmith 2.0, with being able to mix and match the attachments and things, and not having to grind to unlock it for each and every weapon class. That's probably the biggest thing. Now, me not being as much of the online like Warzone player, except for like when they would do like the 50 versus 50 like specials and things like that, or have those playlists for those. I think it'll definitely be a godsend for my sons, because they always want to try to get gold, the gold skins for
Of course,
pretty much
yeah.
all of the
Yeah,
weapons,
my
and it's
son, the
like
same thing. Yep.
Gold with
yeah,
the diamonds.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the fact that you don't have to always unlock the scope on each and every weapon, you can carry that over. I think that's a big step forward, because in reality, a lot of those scopes and things like that are interchangeable on some of the attachments or on some of the receivers. So it's great to see that they have that, and have that customization aspect, that you can make your weapon really, other than just the cosmetic aspect of it. You can have the scopes, the not the trigger pull, but at least the handle, the stock and all that you like or prefer. You can carry that over to your next weapon. So I think that's a huge step forward. Now, being also the division player, the fact that they're going to have third person playlists. Now, I'm glad they're kind of doing it as a third person playlist,
Yeah.
because I know that there are certain advantages that you get playing as third person versus first person.
Yes.
So you can't really mix the two, because you could always peek corners a lot easier in third person. But the fact that they're actually trying this, like, there was like a weird dream that I had a while ago, and I think we even joked about, like, what if you made Call of Duty into a looter shooter type of deal?
Right.
It looks like they're actually doing it, and now you have that third person perspective as well, where it's like, yeah, this might actually give Division a run for my time or play time. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. But just in general, all of the upgrades, and even though there are some mechanics that they're focusing on that were in previous Call of Duties, the fact that they're paying attention to all those little things, and either reworking them or updating them, whether it be the animations, the graphics, or the actual weapon damage or bullet drop and things along those lines, like the weapons that can be fired underwater and stuff. They definitely have to focus on those physics. So even though, yes, this is a arcadey shooter, it definitely has its place where you want to have some form of reality, so that way you have some form of understanding why, oh well, how did that guy shoot out of the water and actually hit me with one shot and kill me type of thing. But there's just so much stuff that they've paid attention to on this Warzone 2, and I was already sold on getting the campaign. Like, Modern Warfare is my go-to, because it's basically around that time period where anything after the 90s, when I was in the reserves, is the stuff that I prefer. Like, yeah, the history buff in me also likes the World War II stuff, but I'm kind of tired of it at this point. But it almost seems like everything that Battlefield was trying to do, they're going to do, and maybe a bit better. I think about the only thing that they don't have is the
Levolution.
The customization on like the modes and things like that.
Oh,
which
yep.
I think that's probably the next step they'll work on. Maybe an explosive mode on Xbox. No, but seriously, no, it was exciting to see a lot of the upgrades, and I didn't get to see all of the streaming and stuff like that. I've noticed there's a few PlayStation centric people that are like, oh, it doesn't seem to slap as hard as the last one. And I remember seeing people complain out the yin yang about Vanguard being either a little bit slower or broken, and
terrible.
this seems to be playing a lot smoother. But they're saying, well, I don't necessarily like it.
Of course.
It sometimes it be like that when you associate it with Xbox, I guess. I don't know, but everything I see excites the hell out of me, and I'm looking forward to the more tactical aspects of this stuff. Like I said, Insurgency, that co-op, that's my go-to. I mean, the PvP is fun, don't get me wrong, but I prefer the co-op against bots because it's like the endless wave. Well, not really endless waves, but like you really have to be on your game, making sure you're covering your sectors and in cover, so that way they can't shoot you through the window or throw a grenade right at the doorstep that you're standing in, type of deal. Right. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Oh, and audio. Yeah. They definitely. It's about time. Although I don't know if some people were saying the footsteps may be a little bit on the louder side, but I guess it might be something that they may want to tweak a little bit. But the fact that you can now get a better sense of your surroundings with that audio, I think is a positive step, because that was always a good thing about PUBG and a lot of other shooters, where you can say, okay, I can hear a guy coming around the wall. Yeah, Battlefield being one of the main ones. So
early Call of Duty as well. Yes. I used to be the king of sound horn. I used to be the king. So yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah. So it's so great to see that they're actually putting a lot of effort into this, and hey, it's great that this will last us 2 years, because I think there's going to be a lot to chew on for those 2 years with everything that they're putting into it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been a long time since I played hardcore on Call of Duty. I used to be a hardcore Call of Duty guy. And I think I might go back on this one. I think that some of those aspects could be kind of fun. Like you said, Fuzz, you and me might have to get in there and play some hardcore with with everything turned off and just really getting tactical and really being careful. I think this might be the one that brings me back to that as well. I can't wait. PTK, I know you didn't get to watch it, the stream and stuff, but you've been obviously keeping up with it. You just got to hear, obviously Silent and Fuzzy break it down a little bit with what they've seen or heard. What's standing out to you right now, brother? Are you on the hype train right now? Are you getting ready for October, that this is it? This is going to be something you jump into? What do you think, man?
Well, hell, I wasn't before I heard all of that. Now I'm sitting here on my phone scrolling through, trying to find videos and stuff. But no, so ultimately, at the end of the day, can I say one thing? Perfect fucking timing, Call of Duty. Perfect timing to get your shit together. Perfect timing, right? We need your shit buttoned up when this acquisition goes through. All right, we need your shit buttoned up. So one, let's get that out of the way. Sorry, Chet, I had to be petty. I apologize. But ultimately, I do like seeing Call of Duty in a great space. I love seeing people's excitement for Call of Duty. The energy seems to be back in the building. I think that's one of the big things that was missing about Call of Duty, that blockbuster feeling, like we were getting Call of Duty it always felt like more of a movie than a game. Like when I was standing in there, I went to just about every single midnight release up until Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 was probably the last Call of Duty I went to a midnight release. It was a movie every single time. So that feeling seems to be coming back to the community. I love the fact that they're taking chances even with Warzone, because if we're being honest about Warzone, it had its ebbs and flows. There was a period of time due to a bunch of different things, a lot of it just being like the ability to like protect players online. There was a lot of hackers and weird stuff going on. So people went away from the game for a little bit of time. So hopefully they've gotten that buttoned up. But from what I've heard so far, it sounds amazing. The different game modes, the different things you're going to be able to do. Like you said, they have the Titanfall as bots. That sounds crazy. There's a lot of different stuff going on there. So hopefully I got to see more. So I'm probably going to be short on this just because I got to actually watch some videos to give you guys some better information. But ultimately, it sounds great. I mean, I'm ready to dive in and see what's going on.
That's good. And I think that's what they're going for. Again, Infinity Ward is like Silent said, just putting so much love and passion into it, you can feel it. Again, I sit back nowadays because we've been through this before too. Sometimes we hear it every year with Madden, and it finally got worn out, and it's The Boy Who Cried Wolf, and they talk about all these great upgrades they're doing and all this great new features, and you wind up getting the game, and it's like, what'd you guys do? What is this? This is the same BS every year. So, kind of have that, trepidation when it comes to hearing this kind of big giant blowout and saying, oh, yeah, we've reworked all this. But if there's one team, again, when it comes to Call of Duty that I have the utmost faith in, it is Infinity Ward. And it seems like they've really gone back to the drawing board. And that's why they're making such a big production out of this one. Like, again, they said it multiple times. This is setting up for the future of Call of Duty. And I think that's why it means so much. And that's why they put so many teams on this one to get this one done, and to put it out. And I think that they're looking to bring back that feeling that you just talked about, PTK, that time. And again, it still sells. I'm not talking about that. It still sells incredibly well, no matter how bad people think it is. Every Call of Duty does. But this could be the one where it goes back to everybody calls in for vacation time. They used to talk about that on all the business shows. Oh, Call of Duty's releasing. Get ready for the vacation time. Business loses X percentage of money this week because Call of Duty came out, right? I think they really are trying to grab that feeling back again of Call of Duty being that one game that kind of stops the world, or that everybody says, oh, yep, Call of Duty's back again. Here we go. Let's go. So, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see more. They even said during this, some of the stuff they didn't even go into. They said, we're not ready to give up all the surprises yet. So they've got even more planned for this game by the time it launches. So really exciting time to get hyped again for Call of Duty. Again, I'm a Battlefield guy first. You all know I've been playing Battlefield 2042 again. Been having a great time with it. They fixed a lot of it. But Call of Duty has always been, just that next one that I've always gone to, except for over the past few years. Cold War was the first one I had bought in a while. I even skipped Modern Warfare when it came out. I just got Call of Duty'd out. But I think I'm back on the train. I'm going to be doing this day one, and I'm going to be grinding it out. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. Shout out to you for bringing that up, man. Great topic, man. And once again, shout out to Gabe. Appreciate you. I can't guarantee Gabe. I don't have a crystal ball, man. I can't guarantee God, but once again, I do know what it feels like. I'm a big energy reader, so it feels like the energy is there, the excitement's there. That's always a great indication. Now we don't understand, we can't, foresee how this is going to pan out, but we can definitely be hopeful based on what we've seen thus far. And once again, I got to go watch the videos to be sure, but I do trust my panel mates here. They're going to give me accurate information. So, and once again, they never let me down. So if they're excited about it, generally, I'm probably going to be as well. So go ahead and drop your questions in chat, man. We're going to let you guys run the rest of the show. We probably got some other stuff that we can cover here. That's going to be fun. But once again, drop your questions. Let us know how you guys feel about the show. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for watching us. It's been an amazing show thus far. I want to kind of get into something just to kind of, we talked about this last week, but I think we're probably going to put a button on this topic once we talk about it now. We'll kind of give our final piece on this. And I want to start with you, Silent. It looks like, obviously last week we had the comments from, the situation going on with Jim Ryan regarding some of the things he said about the deal, and, him kind of giving out information, basically saying, since Phil already talked about it, I might as well go ahead and let the cat out the bag. This is what they offered us, yada, yada, yada.
It's inadequate.
Yeah, inadequate, right?
On multiple levels.
Just to be on multiple levels. It's inadequate. So he went full Jerry Maguire, on the CWA, and was like, look, this is not good enough. So they essentially doubled down this week regarding the deal. This is kind of going long in the tooth. I thought we were done with this at one point. I really did, Silent. I thought we were done with this. I thought this was behind us, but it seems to just be it. They won't let the process just happen. So what do you think about, obviously, Sony or Sony Jim doubling down on what they said last time?
PTK, this whole situation with Jim Ryan continuing to come out over and over again and say these things, it reminds me of when you go to the dentist and they're like, hey, bad news, you've got a root canal coming. We got to do this thing. So they schedule you. So you dread the situation. Like, it's bad news initially. You didn't want to hear it. And then you go, you get the work done, and they fit you for it or whatever. And then you have to dread it again. You come back, they've got more bad news for you or something you didn't want to hear. And it feels like it's the same thing with Jim Ryan at this point, where it's like every few days, I'm just dreading that we're going to hear something that I don't want to hear. Like, I'm getting frustrated with him at this point, in the fact that I don't know. It's good for us as podcasters, right? Because he gives us plenty of content. But at the same time, less is more sometimes. And maybe he doesn't need to go out there and say as much. Now, I understand, he's trying to play victim in a lot of this situation. I get that's him trying to play on those feelings and those heartstrings. But at the same time, like, it gets to a point where it's like, all right, you're the boy that you're the boy that cried wolf in this scenario. This is getting kind of ridiculous. Like, I get what you're saying, but you don't have to keep making it seem like it's such a big problem. Like, it's such a big deal all the time. Now, granted, like I just said a few moments ago, Call of Duty did just put their best foot forward. So they did kind of prove the fact that, like, it is, something to compete with. It is a behemoth on its own. But all this constant back and forth about, trying to block the deal and stuff, I get it. But you've got so many dev teams in your lineup. You've got so many relationships that you've relied on in the past. You have so many things that you could use at this point to bring more content out yourself. Maybe stop focusing on this and trying to stall it out as much, and maybe work on doing more than just remasters. Like, there's stuff you could do that seems like it's just more productive use of your time. But yeah, I don't know. God bless him for giving us more content as time goes on. But yeah, it's like you were saying, I felt like we were done with this already.
Yeah.
And every time you pull out your phone, you see something else from him. And you're like, oh, Jim. Are we going to play the game of, like, drunk or asleep on his text messages and his reports? Because it feels like it's just coming from left field at this point.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to see. Now, you talked about them, essentially competing and having their own content. They're actively making content. Right. Like, they've laid out the roadmap. Like, this is not some hidden agenda. This is not Sony buying themselves time. They told us what they're doing. We're pumping X amount of millions of dollars into our first party and third party. We need 10. They mentioned like 10 like games as a service type games by like 2025, something along those lines. Yeah. They're actively doing that right now. While we're talking, there are people sitting there that have a check in hand from Sony, and they're making a game, essentially a third party game or a games as a service type game. Like, they
just money handed Stellar Blade, which was Project Eve. That was announced for everything, and they just money handed it at TGS, and now it's only coming on PlayStation and probably PC.
So that's what I'm saying. They're actively making moves. They're not like sitting on their hands trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, we're so shocked. This is such a left field. That's not the position Sony currently is. I don't understand the people's like when people argue in Sony's defense from that particular perspective. I don't understand it, because they're not defenseless. They're not in some horrible position. Sony is actively, once again, it is the only reason people mention it, because it's all visible now.
Yes.
We're watching Sony do this in real time, and it's not comfortable. They make mistakes. It's visible. They may take a couple steps back. It's all visible. They're tripping over their feet, forgetting what they just said last week. We're watching this in real time. This is stuff that we never got to see from Sony. Sony dictated the narrative. They dictated, what happened in the actual during the period of time that they were, in number one.
I think my favorite part about the most recent stuff too was the fact that they were blowing up about the idea of, console gating or content gating material and games and stuff like that. And then they came out and they're like, hey, check out this Call of Duty stuff that's exclusive to PlayStation to start off. And I'm like, oh, dear Lord, what are we doing? Like, how is this?
Yeah, nobody's playing that beta on Xbox.
Yeah, like how does that work? Like,
yeah, my friend list is empty. Nobody's playing Call of Duty. They don't have there's no Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta on my friend list.
That one put the biggest, I'm sure if I was looking in the mirror, that one put the biggest dopey smile on my face because I was like, oh, God bless you, Jim. You just deliver.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, I don't know, Pong, I know you've talked about this. And shout out to Mav. Mav went the fuck off yesterday.
Oh,
shout out to
yeah.
FSP, man. I got to give Mav his flowers. He went off. I appreciate you, Mav.
Don't encourage him.
Man,
My God.
No. Fuck no. I gotta stick up for Mav. Mav went off, man. You don't get to hear him in rare form like that too often. But once again, it's what we do, man. So shout out to Mav, everybody at FSP. I know Caitlin was in here earlier. Psycho's in here. Laura, Jasper was in here too. So shout out to all y'all. But Pong, I don't know if you want to chime in for the 12th time this week about this, bro. I know we've been talking about. I heard you guys live. I was there in chat talking about this. So are we done with this? Are we done?
No. This is just beginning. This is fun. I understand the burnout from doing this, but we don't get this. Again, this reminds me of Sega and Nintendo at the height when they were battling in public. We just didn't have social media back then. We didn't have podcasts back then talking about it, right? We waited for the magazines or quotes coming out or whatever the case may be. We didn't get this kind of access. And this, I hate it. We talk about this too recently. I hate how secretive this whole industry is. I hate how they all treat it like they've got some nuclear codes hidden in their desk and nobody can talk about anything. So this being wide open right now, us getting a full blown, not just a peek behind the curtain, but it's throw those curtains aside and let the light shine in on what actually happens behind the scenes. I love this stuff. So listen, the quotes this week, right? That again started it off were again Sony update. This is an update from gamesindustry.biz, who did the original article that Jim gave those quotes to, right? So they updated it and said Sony came out this week and said, by giving Microsoft control of Activision games like Call of Duty, this deal would have major negative implications for gamers and the future of gaming industry. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting the gamers. Microsoft then responded and said it makes zero business sense for Microsoft to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation given its market-leading console position. And this all happened this week because the CMA came out and said, well, Microsoft and Xbox didn't give us anything to ease our fears about this deal, so we're moving to phase 2. We all knew this was going to happen. Microsoft and Xbox told them to go fly a kite. We'll talk to you behind the scenes. We'll educate you on how this industry actually works. Let's go to phase 2. We're not going to concede anything right now. So again, they don't care about the gamers. The fact that they continue, they're painting themselves into a tighter and tighter corner. Everything that they've talked about, this hyper focus on Call of Duty, is nothing but a positive in my book for Microsoft and Xbox. They are taking a hoard of diamonds, and I've been using this analogy all week here. They've got this hoard of diamonds in this Activision Blizzard King deal. That's what they're buying up for $70 billion, a hoard. But everybody's hyper focused on the one beautiful diamond that catches everybody's eyes, right? It might have the most facets on it. It might be the most sparkly, most beautiful diamond they've ever seen in Call of Duty. But everybody's so hyper focused on this. Microsoft and Xbox are already saying, we're willing to share this diamond with everybody. Meanwhile, they got a whole trunk full of diamonds that they're going to carry off at the end of the day, right? That's why I think it's good. And Sony is painting themselves in the corner because these regulatory bodies are going to get a full-blown education by Microsoft and their attorneys. They are going to walk in there and lay out all the details of the super secret industry and show why what Sony's been doing is basically the same thing in a lot of different ways, except they just didn't want to give up the goat and spend the money to go buy people. They just decided to go buy content all the time. But there's no difference here whatsoever. And at the end of the day, again, Microsoft and Xbox, I don't think they're lying. I don't think Brad Smith was lying when he said that we think of Call of Duty the same as Minecraft. It is a platform unto itself, and we want to expand that platform. We want to get it to Switch, which they haven't had it in how long? I think 2013, 2014 was the last time Nintendo had a Call of Duty game, something like that. We want to get it over there. Why? Because they're no longer caring just about the capped market that is the console space. They want 2 billion, 3 billion people. They want Call of Duty everywhere. Call of Duty is going to be a gateway drug for Game Pass. It is going to allow people to play Call of Duty on their phones, on their TVs with apps, on their tablets, wherever they are. They want Call of Duty because that's the gateway drug that they've been looking for. So yeah, it is a big piece, but they're not going to take it away from anybody, right? They're not going to do that. It's just that Jim doesn't care about gamers. He didn't care about gamers this week when he money-hatted Stellar Blade. He didn't think about the Xbox gamers and go, oh, you know, this is really bad for gamers. I should probably let everybody play this game. No, Jim, you cared about your gamers. You wanted to say we got exclusive game. So you went out and paid for it. Guess what? That's business. That's what Microsoft and Xbox is doing. Just because they got a bigger bank than you, Jimmy boy, doesn't mean you get to cry foul. So guess what? When these regulatory bodies get the education from Microsoft and their attorneys, they're going to start looking over at Jim and go, man, you really are a whiny little bitch, ain't you? That's exactly what's going to happen at this point, because they're going to be like, you really been crying all this time about this when you've been doing all this other stuff behind the scenes when you're number one? Why don't you go over there and tell your teams to start making some games and do what you guys do? And you know what? If you fall to number 3, hey, that means you might have to innovate, just like you did back in the day when you were the new kid on the block fighting against Sega and Nintendo. Just because you got to be the king, at least in your eyes, you got to be the king on that throne, doesn't mean you can't fall from that throne. And guess what? Pick yourself up, buddy, right? Pick yourself up by those bootstraps and go figure out how you can come back and compete with this kind of move, because that's what you're going to need to do. So I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. And then obviously this sets the precedent for all future purchases like this. It doesn't have to be $70 billion. When Sony goes and makes their move, which I think they will, they'll probably pick up a smaller publisher, whether it's Square Enix, somebody like that. One of those deals is going to come under regulatory scrutiny when they do that. And they're going to have to follow these same guidelines. So all of a sudden, when they make that move, Microsoft is going to be the ones like knocking on the door like, hey, regulatory bodies, remember that whole deal we had that Sony was complaining about? Yeah, they can't go ahead and make those games exclusive that have been on our platform before. That's not going to work for us. So we're going to want the same kind of concessions that we gave for Call of Duty. That's what's happening right here, right now. But this is all interesting to me. I love the chess moves. It is a chess move game. Jim doesn't care what everybody thinks of him. Nobody cares. Sony Corp doesn't care what people think of their corporation right now, whether they look weak or, whatever the case may be. They don't care. They're fighting, they're scrapping, they're throwing haymakers because they're in a battle for that number 1 spot. And they know they're just about on the edge of losing it. They really are once this deal goes through and Game Pass takes off. But that's competition. That's business. Nobody cares. Nobody should care if Sony falls. Nobody. They're not going to go out of business. It's not going to squash them. They're not going to die off tomorrow because ABK gets bought. They're just going to have to fight for a change, and they're going to have to innovate like they used to instead of just resting on their laurels like they did all last generation.
And it's crazy because Sony, not including Nintendo, Sony has something that you can't buy. I've always said it, that brand loyalty, you cannot buy that. And that's something that they can always lean on. Xbox, that's something that Xbox is still striving to get to. They're trying to figure out, a way to get to that point. So that's something that Sony can always lean into. So that's very important to note as well. So before we throw this over to you, Fuss, shout out to everybody in chat. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Phasma. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate you. Glad to see you here as well. Shout out to Chris, everybody in chat. You guys are awesome. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz, man. We talked about this last week, man. It keeps coming up. We think we're, the information's dying down and something happens, an email, gets leaked, something happens. So where are you at on this at this point, man?
I think it's just pure comedy gold at this point. Like both Silent Cypher and Pong had pointed out, it's like Jim makes a comment. Oh, but listen to what he says, but not what he does. Because hey, they have this special weekend for Call of Duty. Hogwarts. They got that special mode where you can only get that store through them unless you want to wait a year for the game. Which by that point you probably are not playing the game anymore. But all things be told, or all truth be told, this is Sony at its I guess at its changing point, because they, like everyone said, they're starting to realize they're going to have to, work a little differently. Not necessarily work harder, but a little bit differently than what they're used to, and it's a little uncomfortable for them at this point. And they're lashing out on social media, and they got their fans that are eating this up. Yet they're raising prices on the console while cutting costs on the internals. They're talking about PSVR 2 and not backwards compatible for PSVR 1, and we still don't know what the price is. So they're going to give you some sort of Easter egg to kind of wow you while they slap you in the back with the $500 plus price point. But we'll see how all that goes. But I think Jim is going to be good for this type of material until the deal goes through, or at least a couple of months before the deal goes through. So we'll have more comedy gold between now and June, I think, as far as this is concerned. But I'm waiting for either the gaming media or even just the general media that are taking up interviews with Phil and a few others before they, start taking up interviews with Jim Ryan. But like, well, aren't you asking or aren't you complaining about stuff that your company is actually doing, type of thing? Like, wait, what? So I guess it's only good for the goose and not for the gander type of deal. But it's I don't know. It's just funny to me, and I'm pretty sure this is just posturing. So like Pong was saying, it's for them fighting for their number one position to at least try to retain it for as long as they can, because I won't say it's inevitable, but there's always going to be some fluctuation between console generations, and I don't think they took Xbox as serious this go around. Like, I think they figured, they could kind of be on cruise control this gen, and didn't realize that Microsoft had the full or that Xbox had the full Microsoft wallet behind it, and that they were willing to use it when needed, type of deal. But Jim will be good for some more stuff as time goes on, and I'm just waiting for the I don't know. I guess the next big thing is going to be the when there's no plane systems available for the holidays, like they're doing their own bundles instead of relying on stores, and the price goes up again. Like I know there was a joke thread about them doing that price hike thing again, but I could see them just holding fast on that price hike during the holidays. And by the way, force you to only buy the bundles, because if you just want the console, good luck finding one of those. You might have to locate a scalper type of deal. But we'll see.
Well, we'll see. Definitely, man. It's very, very interesting. But let me go ahead and get to this super chat. Shout out to Gabe. Appreciate you for the $1.99 super chat. He said, play what you want on any plastic box. Absolutely, Gabe. Ultimately, that's what we believe here at the Shop Podcast. We do give strife to all the companies that actually need to at any given time. So we do not hold back here. Nintendo as well. So one of the few channels that actually consistently talk about Nintendo. But man, shout out to everybody watching live, man. That was a great topic. So once again, drop your questions in chat if you have any for us. Anything else, Pong? I know a lot of stuff happened this week, brother. I know we had a couple other things that we could probably go over.
Can I throw one more thing in real quick about the ActiveList thing? So this is something I mentioned on our show on Wednesday also, but it's something that keeps popping into my mind. And this is kind of a scorched earth scenario, because at this point, this thing's going to go through, right? Like it's extremely unlikely. But I just want you to think about the idea. Imagine if somehow this thing gets shot down. Now imagine a pissed off Microsoft that now has all of that available funds open up again and can go out and do whatever they want to do.
I've never considered that. That's so funny, because I've never thought about that. And Pong, I know that's probably crossed your mind.
Oh yeah, I've talked about it before. I said
Yeah.
you want to see. Look, you already woke up Godzilla.
Yeah.
You want to see the full force of Microsoft? Go ahead and get this deal stalled out. Go ahead and do that. You think that if the regulatory
Thought it was
bodies
bad
push,
now.
yeah, if the regulatory bodies would push back against that, Microsoft would go full nuclear on this, and they would find ways, whatever they had to do, they'd be buying up everything. I think exclusivity buys would be back on the table again.
Yeah.
They'd be cutting deals with third parties. So they'd be looking, why wouldn't they? They'd sit and say, okay, you guys don't want us to compete this way? Fine, we'll compete in the same area. Here's $70 billion towards exclusive deals with third-party titles. Do you know how many deals they could make? Do you know how many deals they
10
could
years
buy
worth
up?
at least.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it would be full scorched earth. They would be going out and buying as many small studios as they possibly could. They'd be the next Embracer Group. They'd be hoarding small studios because none of those would get into the regulatory bodies at all. It would be on. Oh yeah, absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
This is something I talked about a while back as well, and I figure Activision is going to fold, and there'll be a fire sale. So they'll one way or another, Microsoft would still get all the IPs and probably still get the studios because
outbid
now,
everybody.
because Activision wouldn't be able to sustain itself, and it would collapse. It would be an ugly collapse, but it would collapse. It would be layoffs. It would be firings, closures. And Microsoft would be buying everything pennies on the dollar. And actually, it might work out better because then you get that $70 billion company on a fire sale price of like $40 billion. And you still got the $30 billion to really do scorched earth on PlayStation. I think at that point, I think even Satya would be like, you know what? Let's end them.
Right.
Yeah.
I think at that point, it would, all bets would be off the table. And even you might even get what's his name? You might even get Bill Gates saying, "See, I told you they were trying to do that whole replace the PC in the home." Yeah, no, I won't promise you that they would purposely kill off Sony, but I promise you they would cripple them to no end, and Amazon would have to save them, or Apple. But I think it's still Amazon is the leading one on it. But they would obviously, it would be terrible for Activision employees, and the $3 billion probably would anger Microsoft a bit that they'd have to pay that, but still, no, they would still get Activision, but probably at half price. A little bit wounded, a little bit they'd have to dust off some stuff and possibly rehire some of the people that got laid off. But no, they would still get everything that's probably in this deal, minus one or two things that might slip through the cracks type of deal.
Yeah. It's crazy to see. I never considered that because I just feel like they don't even start this deal if they're not 120%, like sure that this is actually going to go through. I don't even think they attempt to make the deal. Like the company this size, you don't put that much money on a table if you don't think it's going to go through, right? I just think that it's too. They've gotten every angle covered, every concession that needs to be made. They got a building full of lawyers that watch this thing on a minute by minute basis, down to the ink that's being written, you know what I mean? That's being used to type up whatever, it's getting typed up. Like,
and you got to think of if somebody like, let's say the CMA were to actually say no to this deal, right? Let's say that happened. Microsoft this isn't just about the video games. This isn't just about Xbox. If they were to get that blocked and UK said no, Microsoft could simply say, fine, we're done doing business with you, UK. They could pull out all their products. They could pull out all their products out of the UK and say, that's fine. We don't need you, UK. Whole wide world out there. You're not going to get anything. And then start running ads, letting everybody know, like the cable companies do, right? When they're about to lose like the, NFL or whatever package. And they're like, hey, contact your local, cable company. You're about to lose the package. You're not going to have access to this anymore. They could start running ads in the UK and be like, you guys want Microsoft back? You want Xbox backs in your country? Start contacting your local representatives. Start contacting.
That's old Microsoft right there.
Massive, very pissed customers off.
Yes. I don't know if that would go over well with the customer base. Probably not at all. But I mean, theoretically they could. That'd be crazy to consider the amount of money that they immediately be playing with, and like how Phil and Satya will be feeling like they probably feel like a slap in the face. Like, we can't believe this shit happened. Now we absolutely have to do something now. You know what I mean? So like you said, I think everything will be back on the table as far as deals and third-party exclusives, all that stuff goes back on the table. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up on that note, man. It's been a phenomenal show. It's been an amazing show. Shout out to everybody, you guys watching us live. You guys have been amazing. Chat has been lit.
We didn't mention it, PTK, but Deathloop this week, everybody.
Oh,
If you guys
yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
Deathloop this week,
Yeah.
huge deal. They did exactly what they needed to do. They were ready to announce it, and I said that if they were going to announce it, you better give the full boat. They did give us the full boat. All the Twitter accounts from Bethesda to Arcane to Xbox. The Xbox Wire had a full press release. Listen, it's coming this week. It's not big for a lot of people because it's an old game, but there's a lot of us out there that are Xbox only right now that never got a chance to play this. We're talking about a light second half for first party. Obviously, nothing really big AAA. This is a Game of the Year award winner. This was a 10 out of 10. Not everybody's going to appreciate this game. Not everybody's going to like it. But for a lot of us, this was a big deal. We're getting Deathloop this week. It's a nice addition to the library and Game Pass this week. So huge shout out to Microsoft for making the announcement and getting that done.
Yeah,
As someone that enjoyed that game, it is well worth trying. Even if you're not normally an Arcane fan, I would say if you're into gunplay and possibly like a corresponding magical power to go along with it, the mechanics of this game are phenomenal. Whether you want to do stealth or go loud, both options are on the table. I mean, it is a ton of fun. So definitely at least give it a try, download it. One thing to warn though, turn off invasions at least until you get comfortable with the mechanics.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good idea.
So,
good idea.
Once again, check it out, man. Deathloop coming soon. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to Shane, Gabe, everybody in chat. Appreciate you guys, man. Like I said, it's a phenomenal show. We'll be back here same time, same place next week. Let's go ahead and just give our guests a good outro here, man. Shout out to you, Silent Cypher, for coming through, blessing the Shop Podcast. Everybody watching with your extensive knowledge, brother. Shout out to everybody at XBI. Louis Sour Blow came through. I saw him in here as well, always showing love and supporting the Shop Podcast. But thank you, Cypher. Appreciate you. Tell Wifey we said once again, thank you for loaning us the time as well, brother. Appreciate you. But let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you again, guys, for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor to come hang out with you guys, talk some video gaming. It's a fun thing for me to do on a Saturday night, and it's always a good time getting together with you guys and talking gaming. I'm happy that things are starting to ramp up at this point, right? Like at this point in the year, it's not going to slow down anymore. Like whether it be us playing games, whether it be the news coming out, it's going to be nonstop, and I can't wait for that. But as far as where you can find me on Xbox International on Wednesdays on the Crazy Louie Gaming channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I hang out with Sour Blow, Crazy Louie, and occasionally some other folks drop in. We got some guests popping up here and there. We got some good surprises coming. But yeah, more than that, you can find me in pretty much every podcast chat throughout the week. I'm not always in the chat, but I am lurking. I'm listening. I'm hanging out. Just, I like being involved in the conversation, even if I can't always jump in. It's great to see what you guys are doing with your content, and I'm happy to support it, and I'm happy that we have such a cool community. So thanks for having me.
Shout out to you, man. Once again, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us here at the Shop Podcast. Once again, will not be his last time here. We will definitely see him here again on the Shop Podcast. It's always a good time. You guys seem to love when Silence on here as well. Once again, shout out to everybody at XBI, Louis, Sour Thank you, gentlemen, so much, man. Appreciate you guys as well, man. So let's throw this over to my two right hand, man. We're gonna start with you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. It's another great show, man. We got it in, man. Another great one. But let everybody know where they can find you at, Fuzz.
Well, it was just awesome being on here with you guys, and awesome having Silent Cypher on here again as well. Always love hearing your takes on things and perspective in the gaming space, and always love being on this show here with you, PTK and Pong, man. Pretty much my extended family here, and for all the people in the chat, it was awesome having you guys check us out, and anybody that catches this on replay later, it was definitely a good time, and I truly appreciate you guys checking us out. For anybody that wants to hear my endless rambling on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also catch me on FSP on Mondays on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. On Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Xbox Ultimate on Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also on Fun Speculations channel with the family. And then right back here, Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Shop Podcast with the family.
Appreciate you, man. Fuzz always coming through every single week. Super consistent. Thank you, brother. Once again, we're like family here at the Shop Podcast. But thank you for hanging out with us, Fuzz, as usual. And last but not least, Mr. Pong Harvey, man. Thank you for making it through this tough week. We know you had an ordeal to get through. You know, you army tough over there like Kevlar. We appreciate you coming through and blessing us once again, like the battery of the podcast. Reigns, you know, no matter what is happening, Pong, you're always here. Thank you so much, brother. But let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, Gen X, we're built differently, so we're the last of the true gens that get through stuff. Anyways, no, this is a great night, brothers. And Silent, again, always love having you on, brother. Love your thoughts, and just your overall energy, man, you bring is fantastic. So. Listen, everybody, this was a great night. Chat, you guys were all amazing. My earpiece is going wild right now, so I hope you can all hear me. I'm pretty sure you can still. I think this is how it works, but you know what? We're going to get through this. So this has been a great week. Great to be here. Love you all. Nothing but respect. Find me, Pong Soul, Xbox, and on Twitter, of course. Next week, I will not be on Xbox Factor Podcast on Tuesday, but you got to go check out Double Barrel Gaming, the channel. Mr. Boomstick's the man, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there every Tuesday. He's going to have a full panel for all good things green. And then Thursday, we got a special PM in the PM. Be on the lookout for a Pong and Mav in the PM on Thursday. Is going to be at a special time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Central Time this week, because we've got another guest. We had Psychonauts 2 weeks ago. We had the one and only Dealer last week. This week, we get Jez Corden from Windows Central.
Awesome.
So it's going to be awesome, but we got to make a special time for him. So be there, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time, Fun Speculations channel, Xbox Ultimate Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. All the best laughs. We go left, we go right, we go up, we go down, but we talk gaming as well. So be there every Friday night. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it's Living Split Screen. My brother from another, Steel, Rain, and I are back again. This Saturday, today, we had to cut it short because Steel had real life stuff going on, but you know you're going to get 3+ hours from us no matter what. So be there 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming people. Play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Thanks, PTK.
No problem, brother. Appreciate you, Mr. Duracell, man. Battery of the podcast, always bringing the energy, man, every single week. And once again, your host here, last but not least, PTK Blam across the board. Hit me up on Xbox Live, on Twitter, when you want to know what's going on with just me personally, as well as everything Shop podcast, man. I appreciate you guys. We will have another guest next week. Chime in. Let me know. My DMs are always open. Let me know what you guys want to see from the Shop podcast. Any recommended guests? I'm always looking for different people to get on here. I love the community. We do this for you guys. So, pretty much you guys can, just give me ideas, guests, things like that. If you guys have anybody that you want to give a suggestion about. But you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.
Later.